2 of Human Health and Diseases. So that's chapter 8 of Biology class 12 CBSE. So let's get into the chapter. Make sure you watch the part 1 before watching part 2. And let's see what was the last point that we discussed in our previous session. We were discussing about the ways to prevent the infectious diseases. We learned what all are the infectious diseases, what all are the causes, everything. So now let's see what is immunity. So in the beginning of the chapter, I told you our mind influences our endocrine system as well as our neural system. What would that do? That would in turn influence our immune system. So immunity is something that is related to immune system. Let's see what is immunity. So immunity is the ability, the total ability of a host to fight against disease-causing organisms conferred by immune system. Okay, so what is it? It is an ability to what? Fight against diseases. Okay, if you say it in simple words, this is the definition. Okay, so now we have to learn about 2 types of immunity in this chapter. So first thing is innate immunity. The second one is acquired immunity. Okay, so we'll learn about innate immunity in detail now. So innate immunity. What is the meaning of innate? Something that's inbuilt or which is within us. So innate immunity means the immunity that we have or we possess by birth. Okay, so it is by birth. So we know about the innate immunity. What do we know about innate immunity? It is by birth, and also it is a non-specific mechanism of defense. Okay, non-specific in the sense it doesn't aim or it doesn't prevent a particular pathogen from entering. It's a general immunity. So that is innate immunity. What does innate immunity provide? Innate immunity provides barriers so that the pathogens doesn't enter our body. So there are 4 types of pathogens that innate immunity provides. The first one is physiological, physical, then cellular and cytokine barriers. So let us see everything in detail. So the first one is physical barrier. So the skin, the mucus and the epithelium lining of us, like our respiratory tract, our gastrointestinal tract, etc., act as a physical barrier. Okay. The second one is the physiological barrier. Physiological barrier. That is the acid in our stomach, then tears in our eyes, the saliva in our mouth. These all act as a physiological barrier for preventing the microbes or the pathogens from entering. Then the next one is cellular ones. So inside our cell, inside our body, also this process is happening. So polymorpholeukocytes. We know that leukocytes, WBC of the white blood corpuscles, what we call it as leukocytes, are actually the army of defense in our body. So they also act as a barrier. Okay. Then monocytes in our body. Then there is natural killer lymphocytes. And then there are macrophages in our body. What would they do? They would engulf the foreign bodies or they will engulf the pathogens and then they can destroy them. So these are the cellular barriers. Cellular barriers are in the cellular level. So next one is cytokine barrier. What do you mean by cytokine barrier? Okay, now we have to take let's take a small slide. This is full of cells, okay? And out of this cell, okay, let's make this the cell. This cell is affected by a virus. Okay, so what would that cell do? That cell would produce something known as interferons. Okay, that is a chemical which would prevent the other cells, okay, these cells from being affected by the virus. Okay, so that is what cytokine barrier is. So cellular barrier kills the microbe or kills the pathogen, whereas cytokine barrier doesn't kill it, but it gives protection to the other cells so that it doesn't spread. So this is to talk about innate immunity. So let's see the next one, that's the acquired immunity. So now we'll talk about acquired immunity. So what does the word acquire mean? To gain, okay? So what do you gain? This is not an immunity that you have by birth. It is something that you gain during your lifetime, okay? So that is acquired immunity. So the first point is, it is not by birth. Also, that is, it's acquired. And the second one is what? It is specific. It is a pathogen specific immune response. So it is specific in the sense what? It is featured or it is characterized by the memory. Okay? I hope you might have understood what is how memory is. I'll tell you everything in detail. So now let's take a body, and the body encounters a particular type of let's say bacteria for the very first time. So it produces a response, okay? That is a low intensity response, that is known as the first when it is only the first encounter, okay, that is known as primary response. And let's take this was the first time. Later in the future, the same pathogen, same type of bacteria was encountered by the same body again. So what happened? They had the memory. So there was the secondary intense response. Okay, over here there is memory, so it's an intense or highly intense response, okay, which has happened over here. So why is that? That is because of the memory it had. It remembered the bacteria, this bacteria caused this disease, so I had to produce something, I had to do some response for what to prevent like our body being diseased, okay. So that is our secondary response. So now for the primary response and the secondary response, we need something. If the response is either something is produced or someone is attacking, okay. So this is done by two cells, the B lymphocytes and the T lymphocytes. So what does B lymphocyte do? B lymphocyte, they produce a protein, a kind of protein when this pathogens enter our body. That proteins would fight against the pathogens, and that protein is known as antibodies. What is it? I'll write in another thing. Antibodies. Okay, and I said B lymphocytes produce antibodies and they defend the pathogens. So what is the role of a T lymphocyte? It helps the B lymphocyte to do this process. Okay, and then to talk about it, the antibodies, actually I'll show you the diagram. No, I think this is not the actual diagram. I'm just mentioning it here. Okay, so let's make it two colors itself. I hope you can see this. This is the rough structure of a I'll show you the cartoon structure of it right now. Before that, let me show you. This is a 4 polypeptide chains. Okay, so what is it? Antibodies are 4 polypeptide chains. Over here, can you see two? Like, this is the 1, 2, 3, and 4. Can you differentiate it into groups? Yes, these two blue are long and these two are short. The red one is short. So the red two small chains, the small chains are called as what? I have no space. Let me write. Small chains are called as light chain, and the bigger chains are called as heavy chains. Okay. Bigger one is heavy chain. So now I told you it's 2 light chains and 2 heavy chains. So how do you represent it? H2, L2. Okay. So now I'll tell you some examples of antibodies. IgA, IgG, IgE, IgM. These are some examples of what antibodies that is produced in our body. The antibody would look like this. So since antibodies are produced in the blood, are released to the blood, it is known as humoral immune response. Why is it humoral immune response? Because what do you mean by humor? Humor is any body fluid. Since it is in the blood, it is humoral immune response. And this is one type of response that comes under acquired immunity. There are two types. One is humoral and the next one is cell mediated. Okay. So the second one is cell mediated immunity. That is CMI. It is mediated by T lymphocytes. Okay. The example for cell mediated immunity is, let's take, there's an organ transplantation happening. Okay. So the graft of the organ should be, it shouldn't be of either animal, plant, you can't choose it from anything. It should be specific. That too, you have to see the tissue matching and also the blood group matching, because or else that would be what? That would be rejected. The body would reject the the graft. Okay. Why is that? Because our body can identify the self and the non-self. So that property, that is how these cell-mediated immunity is. It knows the non-self, it knows the pathogens, and then it will react. And that is what is cell-mediated immunity. So now let's see about active and passive immunity. Active and passive immunity. So let's see what is active immunity first. So you encounter a pathogen and then your body produces antigen by itself. So that is called as active immunization or active immunity. Over here, what is it? You are not giving antibody directly. The antibody is being produced by your body. So the antigen can be proteins, it can be bacteria, anything. These things would get inside your body and your body by itself would produce the antibodies for preventing. That is active immunity. So now let's see, like even when you go for vaccination or vaccination and immunization, when you give the dead or weakened microbes inside your body, and then your body itself produces the antibodies. That is also a case of what? Active immunity. Now let's see what's passive immunity. If this over here, if the antibody is not directly given into the body, then what would be passive? The antibody is given into your body. So that is called passive. Okay. So example of passive immunization or passive immunity is like when you're born, you fed mother's milk that has cholesterol. Cholesterol contains huge amount of antibodies which is required for the baby to fight against diseases. So that is one. And during pregnancy through placenta, the mother gives some immunity to the baby through food and etc. Directly the immunity or the antibodies are given to the baby. So that is also a example for passive immunity. So next we will be discussing about vaccination and immunization. So vaccination and immunization. So vaccination works in the property of memory. Okay. So and vaccination is an active immunization. So what is this vaccinations? What is this vaccine? So that is either the proteins of the pathogen or dead or weakened pathogens are introduced to the body. So when they are introduced to the body, what happens? These our body would produce antibodies, obviously, because it's a foreign particle. So it will produce an antibody. And since it is weakened or it is a proteins, it won't affect our body adversely. And then these antibodies will not go away from our body, it will remain there. And what will happen? When an actual infection comes, this would be used up. This will neutralize the pathogens. So that is these vaccinations are actually, I told you, they have memory. Therefore, the second time when these pathogens enter our body would show extreme reactions. It will give like massive production of these antibodies, which will help us to fight away our diseases. So that is why we take vaccines when we are small. Okay, so that is like they give you the weakened microbes or the pathogens, and that is inside your body. The antibodies are already produced, so your body is familiar with it. Now it has memory. The B lymphocytes and the T lymphocytes remember which is the antigen that is entered your body. So that is to talk about vaccination. Now let's say what is immunization. Now let's take the situation like you need quick reactions for, like you had a you took a pointed object and it was rusted and your hand got injured. So what you go take tetanus. Tetanus is a form of passive immunization. Why is it? Because tetanus is already the antibodies are produced, and that is just introduced to your body, so that it will react and you won't have any further issues. And also in the case of snake bite, what is happening? The antibody or the toxins are introduced to our body. These are the form of passive immunization. So what is it? When the antibodies are directly given into your body, it's passive, and when they produce by themselves, it's active. So now let's learn about allergies. Allergies are exaggerated responses of our bodies when an antigen is there in our environment. So these antigens which cause allergies are called as allergens. Okay. So now let's see what all are these allergens. The common one. There are pollen grains, the dust in mite, when these small mites come, etc. We have allergies. So what are the symptoms of these allergies? Running nose, sneezing, watery eyes, etc. Itching, etc. are the symptoms of allergies. So, what is this allergy? How is this allergy caused? When these antigens get inside our body, they produce an antibody, which is usually the type of IgE. I told you about when we discussed about antibodies. I told IgG, IgE, IgA, IgM. The one is IgE. So usually the allergies are due to the production of histamine or serotonin. Okay. So if either histamine or serotonin is in our body, we show allergies. Okay. So how do you diagnose an allergy? You are taken into a hospital and they give you a very small amount of these allergens, which are possible allergens. You might be allergic to egg, might be allergic to pulses, might be allergic to pollen, dust, etc. That would be introduced to you in a small amount. If that shows allergy, then the treatment is further taken. So it either, what are the medicines for this? Antihistamine or adrenaline and steroids would help you overcome your allergy much faster. Autoimmunity. So what is autoimmunity? We know that in higher vertebrates, the vertebrates have an ability to distinguish between self and non-self. Therefore, when a non-self particle or a foreign particle or an organism enters our body, what would it do? It will kill the foreign particle. Whereas the second case, there are two cases. The second case is the self-attacking of the cells. That is maybe due to some genetic or other factors that can cause harm to our body. So this kind of autoimmunity diseases, autoimmune disease, one example is rheumatoid arthritis. So that is all to discuss in this chapter. I hope you might have understood the chapter. If you have understood the chapter and liked the video, please do give my video a huge thumbs up, and also subscribe to my channel if you're new to it, and also share the video to other friends. So see you on my next video. Till then, bye bye.